Welcome to The Elephant in the Org, presented by the Fearless People Experience. Do you know those things in the workplace that make work suck but remain unchanged? Well, those are the elephants we're here to talk about. We believe that these topics can and should be addressed with common sense, courage, and compassion. We may not have all the answers, and we're definitely not always going to be right. But we're here to build a better people experience. We gotta start somewhere. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Elephant in the Org, everyone. I'm Danny Glutch, and I'm joined in the cold open with Marian Anderson this time
Ooh, I'm so lucky I get to hang out.
because we
Yay.
have a really different and interesting episode today.
Mm.
Marian, why don't you? I think it'll be easier to understand what the episode, what the elephant is, if you tell us about how this episode with Paul came about.
Yeah, so anyone who's listened to us for a while will know that we did over the summer a limited series called Rethinkability in partnership with the team at Rethinkability. And the idea was to raise awareness across the board, but particularly with HR professionals around the challenges of having unseen disabilities in the workplace. And that work, that advocacy work, has just grown arms and legs and led to us cultivating a lot of really cool relationships and new partnerships and friendships. And
Mhm.
someone extraordinary that came onto my path was Paul Meyer, and Paul was introduced to me by Greer Prosich over at Rethinkability and one of our key collaborators. Paul is profoundly deaf. He's been deaf his entire life. And we set up a call just to chat really about accessibility work and what he was doing. And I had seen him post on LinkedIn about his difficulties trying to find work, trying to get interviews, trying to get even his resume picked up. And, having been on my own disability journey, I got really incensed by that because even as a hearing person, the job market right now is horrendous. So for someone who has a profound hearing issue, is I can't even imagine. I couldn't imagine how much more challenging that would be to navigate. And what struck me about spending time with Paul was just his real passion for helping people do better, learn more,
Mhm.
raise awareness, help organizations do more. And it really just led me to think, hey, we should do a podcast with Paul. We should do an episode. I'd love for people to hear him tell his story and just see what we see when we interact with him. An
Yeah,
incredible, yeah, an
I,
incredible individual.
we had just an intro call because I had never met Paul before, and it just so obvious what a pleasant person he is, funny person he is, kind person he is, and what a great communicator he is.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I think the smaller elephant in the org is how this is going to be a video podcast. And I didn't realize that, so I didn't shave, so I'm really scruffy. Um, but if people, and I really hope they do watch this video podcast, because the ability to see him use his hands and body language and facial
Yeah.
expressions while he's talking with and he talks about how he has a strong deaf accent.
Yep.
It's not a deaf advocate who speaks where you can't tell that they were deaf.
Mm.
And he's not shy about that. That is who he is, and he's still just a wonderful communicator. And I'm really excited for people to watch this and see and really have their eyes opened as mine were, of like, oh, like this is fine. This is great. Like, Paul's wonderful to work with.
Hmm.
That being said, I know in getting some of the tools to work, the closed captioning and the interpreters and things, Marion, you did all of the work for us on that. Thank you. Thank you for saving me. And somehow you made time for that. I don't know where you probably just didn't sleep. So, in transparency, what was that like?
Definitely not easy. Not gonna lie, the irony of accessibility tools on tech platforms actually not being that accessible in the first place. You know, I was having to put into perplexity, help me find how to, you know, invite an interpreter on Zoom, and some of the information that was coming up was conflicting. And I got there eventually, but it took a while, and it just made me think, you know, these are meant to be accessibility features that are not accessible. And in fact, why aren't those controls just there as part of the main panel and you can just say yay or nay, right?
Hmm.
And um, I know that we quote this one a million times over the
It's a
course of
good
our
quote.
podcast, but it's incredible, you know. Dr. Angela Young, they said to us once, if you build for everyone, if you build with the most marginalized in mind, then you support everyone, right? And
And
it's
it's
true.
100% true.
It's so true. So yeah, we got there in the end. We were really fortunate to secure some other help with an ASL interpreter, the wonderful Rebecca, and also Annie supporting with CART closed captions. So we hope that this podcast episode is an inclusive experience for many. It's accessible. It's our first time ever doing something like this. We probably could do better and
Hmm.
in certain ways, but that's the beauty of this journey. It's about learning. You can't be perfect at these things the first time around, and it's just about learning. And I think that we've learned a lot, and Paul has taught us a lot along the way as we've
Yeah.
produced this episode. So really grateful to him for his patience with us. But we just wanted an opportunity to spotlight this incredible individual. People need to hire Paul because he's wonderful and he would bring so much to an HR team. So, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's one of those things where I've had the privilege of speaking to so many people, with our Rethinkability series, with so many different uh, abilities and disabilities. And speaking to Paul, it's a really interesting perspective and experience that is very different from the other disabilities because it is around communication.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of organizations are worried or are shy or just have no idea how to overcome that or how to
Mhm.
approach it, how to attack it. And I think a lot of HR teams, a lot of leaders, a lot of managers can listen to this conversation and learn. And I
Yeah.
hope that it's eye opening. Some organizations who probably think they're very inclusive might listen to this, watch this, and realize that they could do better.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, it's different, and and I think one thing Paul said, I don't think it made it into the podcast, but it was in our conversations, is that every disability is different, and you can't just go
Hmm.
to one disabled person and say, oh, how can we accommodate for this person, or even just one deaf person and say, how can we accommodate for all deaf people? That's just not how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
um, but this is Paul's story, and I think it does cover a real elephant, which is that there's nothing that impacts their capacity or capabilities, their intellect. It's just a communication disability, and it's one that can be worked with. And
Mm,
it's one that organizations might have a hard time approaching. And I think that's an elephant worth talking about.
definitely. We're really excited to bring this to our listeners. So if anyone can help Paul find a job, please message us, DM us. Paul's LinkedIn link is in the show notes. We will tag him. But please connect this wonderful individual with any opportunities that are out there because he's remarkable and he deserves to be able to share those gifts with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for listening. We're excited for you to listen to this one. This is The Elephant in the Org. Welcome back to The Elephant in the Org, everyone. I'm Danny Glutch, and I'm joined by my co host, Marian Anderson.
Hello.
Kasha can't make it today, but we have a really special guest and a really special episode today. We're going to be discussing deafness on a podcast. So that's going to be really interesting, and we're going to have different formats for everyone. And to talk about this topic, we brought in Paul Meyer. Paul, why don't you say hi to everyone?
Hi. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here.
It's
Thank
awesome
you.
to have you. And Paul, can you share a little bit about your journey with deafness and how you identify on the broad spectrum of deafness?
I was born profoundly deaf,
Well,
and then I went to oral schools for the deaf for 11 years.
and,
And then I was mainstreamed,
and,
and I went to a Gallaudet University,
and,
and then I transferred to a hearing college.
and,
And then I've been working ever since. My identity is deaf. That's it.
How did the transition from the school for the deaf to a hearing college, how was that transition for you?
uh,
It was a big change. It was a big difference.
well,
Growing up and going to the deaf school, the first year, or for 1 year, for 11 years.
Mac,
And then my class was really small. And then when I was mainstreamed in high school, it was huge. It was a really big class. And there were no other deaf kids there. It was a different culture. I had to get used to the culture. It was different. And then when I transferred to Gallaudet, it was a strong deaf culture. It was very very immersive. It was deep signing, only signing. I had to learn how to sign there, and that was the only way to communicate. Then when I transferred back to a hearing college, it was again a totally different culture. I had to learn how to do everything different all over again. I learned how to lead in the deaf world and in the hearing world. So I know how to cooperate. I learned how to marry those two worlds together, the deaf world and the hearing world together.
Talk about building resilience, flexibility, agility, some of the most important leadership skills out there. Do you think that those early experiences have contributed towards how you operate in the workplace today?
Well, because of that, you have to have a lot of empathy for people.
Yes.
A lot of empathy for people because I understand how some people get left out. I understand how it's frustrating for us. So it's hard. So I understood how the top world is like small, tight-knit, but I went to really cool and the more flexible, more open, but because I was often the only deaf person in the school, so I was the only deaf person to play sports, so I was always on the heat team, so you have to learn how to advocate for yourself. A lot of frustration, but you learn how to stand up for yourself, communicate, show people how to do it, so it becomes easier after a while. So I transferred to, but I went to Guyana,
Yeah.
And it was a different world from where I grew up because I grew up in the oil field and the
Mhm.
culture is very bit different. And guys, that culture is so different because it's more profoundly that culture. So I
Yeah.
had to learn how to communicate different ways, different paths from the human world to the dub world. So because of that, I'm able to pick up on the people from the human world and the dub world. I'll transfer to the human college, where I learned how to use my people skills that I had growing up from being so many different places. So, um, I, I had an interesting background because when I grew up going to a Dutch school, I went to a Dutch school all day. Then after school, I played on a huge team because I was a good athlete. So I need my balance, go to Dutch school. Then play sports with the huge team all day. Play with huge team after school. Then when I got to high school, it was rebirth. I went to school with huge people all day. I played sports with the huge team after school. Then other weekends, I had to see my stuff then. So it was the balance of both.
Yeah.
Then when I went to college, I had both of my foot into that world and the human world at the same time. So ever since then, I tried to find a little balance between both the depth world and the human world. So when I'm looking, I try to find a balance because most of the time the human people have no idea how to help us or work with us. And that's where I feel that I could come in and help people.
Yeah. And you were talking so much about the culture. And I find it very interesting that you used that word where there's this culture when you were at the deaf school and then a different culture at the hearing school, the mainstream school. And so much of organizational culture and team culture is how we communicate. And it's, we talk about it, oftentimes it's like, oh, we're an email culture, or we're a Slack culture, or we're an in-person culture. And it's so much more like obvious when you were talking about, oh, you went to a school and you've been deaf and you've been in deaf communities, but then you went to a school where it was only signing, and that was different for you because you had to adjust to this whole new sort of expectation of communication. And I think that's something that a lot of teams could learn from, is that just because this is the way they're used to communicating doesn't mean everyone communicates that way. And you were able to adapt to that. I imagine that was not the easiest thing to do, especially as you were talking about, you know you had your feet in both different worlds at the same time and flipping back and forth. So I'm not entirely sure where I was going with that, but I just found it a really profound uh, commentary on what culture is. Because oftentimes we think of culture as, oh, we do this together, we all have these affinities. But really, culture is about how we communicate and what we communicate.
Mm.
Culture, from my perspective, something sees so many different things. Culture is wanting to belong. That's the most important thing. People want to belong to something. Like if I'm at work, I want to belong to people that I work with. If I'm with the people, I want to belong with them. So culture is all about being included and belonging with people.
Wow. Yeah, that feeling of belonging really does make such a difference.
So, Paul, tell us what passing as hearing means to you, and why is it important that people understand that there's a spectrum of deafness and experience?
Uh, it, it's a very sensitive topic in the deaf community
Mm.
because there's a wide spectrum of hearing loss, mild to severely deaf to profoundly deaf on the far hand, but the harder to people on that hand. There's a wide spectrum, and sometimes a lot of people want to belong. That's the key word here, belonging. So sometimes if that person is working in a healing company, so they try to hold the family, they can talk to blend in better, so they can be adapted by the healing work, work community or something. But it's a very sensitive topic in the deaf community because some
Yeah.
deaf people can't talk, so they can sign early. So because of that, they can let out easy. So that hurts some deaf people when all the deaf people to be treated equal. So
Hmm.
it's a hard topic. So
Yeah.
it will help if hearing people understand our communication needs so that we can do whatever we want as long as we make us feel belong. So that's the big thing. It's about belonging because a lot of the people get excluded. So it's time to bring all of them together to
Yeah.
belong. Doesn't matter what kind of healing loss you have. Accept
Mm.
all the deaf people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I appreciate calling out that it's a very sensitive topic in the deaf community, and I can see why. It is a big elephant, right? It's one of
Mm.
those things that it is a spectrum, and it is so much about belonging. And I really appreciate your just transparency and honesty about what it's about. And when it really comes down to it, it's about helping people in whatever their communication needs are, feeling like they belong. And I really do appreciate that. And
Mm.
what a good perspective. I wish, gosh dang it, I wish it was just easy for us to help everyone belong. But I know sometimes I don't feel like I belong in organizations, and it's difficult. Is there ever pressure to to try to make it feel more comfortable for other people, for the hearing people you're working with? Do you ever feel pressure to care about their experience more than your own?
Uh, when I try when I try to talk to two people about deaf people, deaf culture, I always use an example from Helen Keller, another deaf blind woman. The people asked her if she had a disability to pick from blind or being deaf. Helen Keller always said that to pick being blind because if you're blind, you still can communicate with people.
Yeah.
You're deaf, you're cut off from people. So that's the part where a lot of people don't understand about deafness is that we get cut off from the world. We're, we're better people, but we get cut off easily. So based on that, there's a lot of pressure for me to show people what we can do because, like I said, most of the time I'm the best person to show up at a company and work. So I have a lot of expectations on me, but
Yeah.
at the same time, because I can talk pretty good, so I'm trying to help pull up all the other the people with me. Like I'm not the only person. We can hire the other person because we can work. We can help you out, but most of the time, if we have an ability to talk very good, we tend to get more attention on the job. So not very sometimes, if that makes sense. Because of
Mm.
the spectrum, the people feel more comfortable with you if you can talk.
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
that not fair for all other people. Because, like I said, some can't talk, they people design, so, but we're all smart, we can work, we matter.
Mm. I think it's a very common experience across the disabled community generally, where speaking for myself, I feel that because my disabilities are unseen, they're invisible effectively, that I have to over communicate and over explain myself, over explain what I need and why I need it and how it happened. And that's more about making other people feel comfortable as well as making myself feel validated, I guess. And we
Well,
hear this a lot. We
Mhm.
hear this a lot. And I think it's human nature to want to make other people feel comfortable. But I think it's more profound. I think it's more intense in the disabled community for those reasons. That's really hard and it's
Yeah.
exhausting. It's
Well,
tiring.
I think part of the wanting to make people feel comfortable is so that they're more likely to include you and help that you feel you
I have a
belong.
great, I have a great example about being taught and having another disability.
Hmm.
I need to work with a co-worker, you know, in a previous, he had a different kind of disability, so he worked in a different office, so we would communicate with each other through email, because we both like football a lot.
Mhm.
So we would compare stories about our co-worker, because we work in the same company. So I asked him, how did the teammate treat you? They said, oh, they like me a lot, they make fun of me, blah, blah, blah. They treat him like a normal person. But my office let me alone. They didn't talk to me a lot. They would socialize with me. So two different disabilities in the same company.
Okay.
Then later he invited me to a football party at his house. So I went over to his house to have fun, talk about football. So I showed up at the party. That's what happened. His friend from work and his people were afraid to talk to me because I'm tough. They thought that I couldn't communicate with them. So it's interesting because you could hear, even though he was in the wheelchair, people treated them like normal. But because I'm tough, people treat me so different. So it was very interesting feeling when I showed up at the party and I was left out.
Mm.
You say
Because,
interesting. That sounds really sad. That sounds really hurtful.
well, well,
Yeah.
So, Paul, I imagine your career journey's been a lot different than most hearing people. Can you tell us about what that career journey has been? What made you want to be on an HR team and what you bring to HR teams?
um, I started out my career on a staffing firm. Then I transited to the HR team. Those help recruiting and help HR. So it was a small company. So I had to do a lot of different things. You know, when you work for a small place, you do more things, more responsibility. So I did a lot of different things, like go to the job fair, talk to people, call people up, and do all things HR and TA related. Because I'm a people person, so I like to be around people. So I like to help people too. So because of that, I enjoy what I did. And at that time, my staffing company was very competitive with the other staffing places in Texas. So if the company, if one of our staffing staff person disappear for a day, that my office will send me to the company. Back then, it was not easy for me because we didn't have the technology that we have now. So first we do interact with people. I like to then later I moved over to investment banking company and I worked in the security department, which means I worked with the former military people from our team because I was job with the transfer stocks and bonds and started very the very persistent because no arena. Then I moved over to uh, then moved over to a non-for-profit company where I was the information director for the team, which means a lot of communication with a lot of different people, training people how to work on the database. Again, we don't see a lot of the people do that. Then I moved over to another company where, where I work on practicing databases and how to communicate a lot with the salespeople, which means a lot of communicating for that person. No problem for me. Again, then I work for the browsing and that's a lot of communicating because we have to talk to people from factory, from trucks and all that. And I did a great job with them. And that not a top friendly job. And then my last company, I went back to HR and recruiter team, and and we all know that a lot of people communicating, and these other people see all kinds of things that I'm good at. So I enjoy working in people's space and teaching people and helping people, and that's what I'm good at. And
Hmm.
at the same time, I created three employee resource group ERC, which means I have to communicate a lot with different people in the company, like senior management, HR people, recruiting people, um, building people to make sure the building is accessible. So throughout my career, I've communicated with a lot of different people. That one of my strengths is communicating and getting things done. So that's who I am.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's such a varied. I love that, one of the themes that kept coming up was like they've never seen a deaf person do that before. And it's cool that you're able to break the stereotypes. And I mean, I'll be honest, in my work experience, I've never seen a lot of deaf people do much of anything because I've never had a deaf coworker. I've had, a few different interactions with deaf people, and it's just like this. It's always gone surprisingly well. And I love that you're breaking stereotypes. But that doesn't mean that it's easy for you to find roles. Currently, you've been looking and you have experience, broad experience. You're very smart, insightful. You have a great personality and a really unique perspective. Why is it difficult for you to find roles? Why aren't teams just like jumping at including you into their HR team?
Um, Throughout my career, over 20 years, almost everywhere that I went, all the HR and recruiting teams always came to me for help related to the issue in the workplace because I was the first open disabled person in the company. So I always enjoy teaching people how to accommodate us, work with us. So it's normal for me. So, and most of the time when I was in a meeting with the HR people, the recruiter, the management, and how to increase the disability in the workplace, I was the only disabled person in the room. That's not fair for us. So right now, um, I'm looking for work, but I think because of the perception when people find out that I'm deaf, I can't communicate. So people assume, oh, how can we communicate with Paul if we hire Paul for our HR team or something? But now with all the technology that we have, it does not matter if a person is step off the table. We can still look at the HR space or people culture space because we provide a lot of perspective that people don't have in the HR space. Because we're one of the biggest minority groups out there. So there to be more people like us represented in the space, but there's not. So how can companies improve themselves if they do have people like us working in that space? And that's where I can come in and help educate the company and so on. And I think it's because people are afraid to say the wrong thing if they hire me or say the wrong thing to other people. And
Mm.
it doesn't matter. People make mistakes, it's okay.
Hmm.
Mm. It's really interesting because, again, as an HR practitioner myself, and then becoming disabled later in life and later in my career, I found that I realized just how poorly equipped HR teams are at supporting most employees with accommodations, whether it be physical, auditory, whatever. And I think it's only through my own experiences has helped me become, I think, better in my job to support accommodations and accessibility. And it's quite remarkable when you think about it, this stuff isn't trained. HR professionals are not trained in this stuff. And this is where someone like you brings real value because of your lived experience. You can't train, well, you can train this stuff from a process perspective systematically, but you can't train the 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 experiences and the empathy and the problem solving and all of the things that come as part of living this experience. And that's where you would be a remarkable addition to any people team because of that. And again, that takes real insight and resilience and flexibility and agility and all the things that you've talked about already. This is a great way to really take that and put it into practice.
Like for me, when I get an interview, they ask me for a phone call. I can't do that. So
Yeah,
I ask for a video phone call like this. But a lot of the recruiters turn me down when they find out that I'm tough and want a video phone call. So,
yeah,
or like, I have an interview
yeah,
and they don't understand how that person can fit into the HR team because they think it's all communicate based. But I've
yeah,
thought in my career that I've done everything in my career, communicating, writing, emailing, talking to people. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter
yeah,
how people don't understand
yeah.
the the way the way to communicate.
Mm,
Yeah.
So
They haven't even given you a chance if they're not gonna be willing to do the video call.
mm, 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 mm.
but
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to build on that because obviously people make assumptions, as we've talked about, employers, recruiters, hiring managers, they make assumptions. And I guess, you know, the assumptions that you've been subjected to, how have they shaped your experiences within the place of work? Like when you've started a new job and you've gone through onboarding, or you've been building relationships, or trying to just feel a sense of trust and psychological safety.
From my experience, onboarding needs to be improved the company because if you don't have a good onboarding program, everything is a mess from the beginning. Because if you don't have it, the right tip, if you don't have the right manual, if you don't have the right practice to really understand, the career is messed from day one, and that needs to be fixed from the beginning, from the HR and training team. Because, like for me, when I started my last job, I didn't have it independent for 4 weeks, so I was locked for 4 weeks, and by the time and interpreter came, I was so far behind, so they wrote me up for being slow for my 30-day plan. That was wrong, because when I finally got my tip, then it took me another month to catch up on work. Then I was one of the first team members, so it's all about understanding what that person needs and
Yeah.
how to start on the top with the leadership if the managers are afraid to talk to you, if they're afraid to be around you, then it's about the whole team too. It's like follow the leader. If people are afraid to talk to you, then nobody else will. So it's
Yeah.
all about perception. 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 It's all about like follow the leader. If the leader won't talk to you, nobody will talk to you. It's true. It's sad, but true. So and also from my experience, if the manager is not comfortable with you being on the team, I will look, always try to find a manager who's ready to accept you on the team. Then it, it's a positive for that person. It, but most of the time, it needs to be, um, what's the word, prepare.
Mm-hmm.
The prepare need to start very hard before that person starts working or another disabled person. It doesn't matter. It's all about preparing. If they're not prepared, everything's a mess from day one.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think it's one of those things, I like to say that culture echoes, like it has to be repeatable. And if the leader talks to you one time and shows it's okay, that's not enough. It needs to be a regular thing that, you know, Paul's a part of the team too. Like we're including Paul. We're
Yeah.
including Paul. Someone go get Paul. Bring Paul into the meeting. Like when it starts to happen and be repeated, then other people are going to start echoing that same behavior. And if people start avoiding Paul, like oh no, let's not include Paul. No, I'm not going to go and go out of my way to interact with Paul. That's going to get repeated too, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really like got to be a frustrating experience because it has nothing to do with your capabilities, your capacity, your intellect. It's it's what we were talking about earlier about they're just not doing the work of helping you feel included, like you belong.
Mm.
So, are there things that your colleagues can do to help break those assumptions and to start uh, acting in ways that other people can see and catch on to and repeat copy in a way that helps you feel like a part of the team without being spotlighted or tokenized in any way?
Uh, two things, maybe, uh, one, if the team finds out that that person is coming to the team, and if that person sign, pick up some new sign for that person. Easy. Hey, how are you? Like, work, but if that person is or doesn't know sign, then you can have a team meeting. So a short film will happen on something doesn't fit, like how do we would it like to be that from the perspective? Maybe have that person talk to the team if they're comfortable from the beginning.
Yeah.
And my little trick that I've learned through my career is assign that person to the most friendly social person of the team. Um, assign that person to the most friendly person of the team or the most social person because everybody on the team tends to go talk with the friendly person. And if the people see that or no problem communicating with that person, we could do the same thing. But if
Mm-hmm.
you see that person alone all the time, then people assume, oh, you can't talk to them. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all about perception.
Yeah.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
little psychology trick, but it works.
Yeah, that's that there's the perception by association, right? If Paul's always next to you or the deaf person is always next to the really friendly social person, they're going to associate you with friendly and social too, and they're going to have less fear, less discomfort, and they're going to open up more. I love that. And you also mentioned one of the ways is in the meetings is having the closed captions on. And I know a lot of organizations are wanting to accommodate. I know everyone I've spoken to at my organization has been really excited to listen to this episode or at least hear what we talk about because they want to do better. And even if orgs don't want to do better, they legally have to. And I think a lot of us, one of our thoughts, in the age of AI, thinks, hey, AI must be getting really good at this for, like live captioning that we're using here on this Zoom call. Um, but we're not able to use it because it butchers a lot of stuff. It makes it really bad and hard to follow. Tell us about the use of AI and closed captioning and things for teams and for you. What's been your experience? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse?
Um, well, we when we had COVID 5 years ago, 6 years ago, called Captain six story by a team that I always loved. When when we remoted from home, we had meetings all the time. So the AI captain was not that wonderful. So I was always lost and I always had to catch up after the meeting. So that hurted my career because if I don't have information, I can't do myself. But now the AI captain improved a lot. Now we have transcript and that's very helpful for the people now. Because like if I have a meeting and the body training me on how to do the database, I can record the meeting, then watch myself later. We did have that done 5 years ago. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy that technology improved a lot. But people need to remember that AI capture is not reasonable accommodation yet. Because if it's not 100% effective, it's not. The
Yeah.
only captain, the only captain that is reasonable accommodation is cost. Because a lot of person is typing in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference between AI and code. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the time, the company want us to use AI only and not have it integrated because of the cost. It's free,
Yeah.
but you have to remember sometimes free doesn't mean it's the best. So sometimes you have to pay a little bit to make sure the communication is better for the people.
Yeah. And I think perception is often the reality of those, where the belief is that accommodations are very expensive
Mm-hmm.
and therefore that's a barrier. But most accommodations actually are free or very cheap and are just common sense. And so I think that outdated belief system has to change. Technology
Um,
will help that. It's just not maybe as fast as we want it to be or need it to be. But I think in the long run, it will help. So just building on that, then, Paul, obviously the name of our podcast, The Elephant in the Org, is because we're calling out things that people don't talk about. They're taboo, they're uncomfortable, they don't feel psychologically safe. And so I guess we'd be really interested to know, what are the biggest elephants that you've seen in organizations when it comes to supporting deaf employees?
From my experience, the biggest elephant in the room is understanding how an interpreter helps the deaf person. But most of the time, a deaf person like, oh, I want to bump, but sometimes the tip is not qualified or not on my level. And managers sometimes don't understand. Like if I'm in a meeting, I'm listening to the tip, but if the tip is not signing the right thing, I'm getting the wrong information. You know what I mean? So the message gets lost. So people don't understand that part about having an interpreter. And they're wonderful too, and they're okay too. It depends. But because of that, we need to communicate after the meeting with that person to make sure they got everything. Um, in the meeting, sometimes the tip doesn't sign the information right, but I'm listening to the tip, and I think that information is right. But the management doesn't really like that. So when I go back to work, I'm practicing the wrong information.
Yeah.
So companies need to make sure when they request them to make sure that the level of a deaf person matches the interpreter. Like I work with upper management, so I need a tip who's expert, who's an expert in that. If that makes sense. Like if I'm in a basic role, then they have whatever kind of tip, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So people don't understand how to know tip can hurt my career, getting the wrong information can hurt my career. So always double check with the deaf person to make sure they got the information right. Like after the meeting, a manager can sit with the deaf person, go over the database or whatever they need to do to make sure they got the information right. Otherwise, same mistakes happen. So it's
Yeah.
all about communicating. With the deaf person, you have to over communicate. With the hearing person, you don't have to communicate as much. But with the deaf person, you have to communicate, over communicate to make sure they got it. Because you can't hear people talking over the wall. You miss out on so much. So always over communicate with the deaf person.
Yeah. That's wow. I'm so sorry. That sounds like a really awful experience where you're trying to, and we all do. We all just try to act and do our best job based on the information that we're provided.
Yep.
And for it to literally get lost in translation, or interpretation in this point is really tough. And I think that brings me to another question. You were talking about, this is coming from upper management. Oftentimes that can be, a death sentence to your time at an organization when you make mistakes like that, or acting on information that was wrong. What role do you think leadership, like real leadership from upper management, from the directors and whatnot, what role do they have in normalizing accommodations, in setting a standard of over communicating that you were talking about, and of setting the attitude of these accommodations being normal and not as like burdens or favors or extra things that they have to do because they're working with a deaf person?
Uh, it should not be a burden. Don't ever think like that. We are not a burden to people. We are here to do our job. But at the same time, we will make mistakes, but don't penalize us. But if we do the same thing over and over again, that's obviously a problem. But if we make a mistake for the first time, don't penalize us, teach us, and work with us to so that we can do the job. It's all about making sure you understand the practice, the workflow, instead of penalizing us if we don't get the information, because people don't realize that if you're here in the workplace, you can hear people talking over the wall. I can't hear, so I try to educate people that all you can hear maybe 80% of what's going on in the workplace. Maybe I'm I'm going to use just an example how much few people get information in the workplace this much that people get dismissed. Where are the other missing information that where we have to work hard to catch up and do a good job for a company? So always have painted flexibility to work with us and not think of us as a burden.
Yeah.
That's not a
Mm,
good way to work with us. Or not again, blah blah. Never do
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, I guess just thinking back to accommodations that we've talked a lot about through this, um, how do you think organizations can shift away from that reactionary, "Ugh, I can accommodate when I'm asked," instead, or rather have a much more inclusive design? Again, if we build our processes and functions and environment to include everyone, then we're enabling everyone, right? As
Hmm.
opposed to specific groups. How do you think companies can adopt that mindset?
Company can be proactive for that or the day before the people they arrive in the company. They don't have a list A B D D D or for that person. Get it to right away because it takes 3 4 weeks to get it into put now. So be proactive. Find out what they need. You can meet with them to go over what they need before they start working. Maybe 2 3 weeks before. And for the day of a person, they can check the building to see if they push button for user person or actor for blind people or more space for other disabled people. It's all about being um, proactive to be more prepared.
Yeah.
Um, that all that all they be active, be prepared, and don't wait until the last minute. That's not a
Yeah.
good look.
Yeah, it sounds like the being proactive of being prioritized, even, when you were talking about how important it is that people come and talk to you, to interact with you. And I know you're a very social person, and not everyone is like you and me, where we love when people come by and say hi.
Um,
Um, but how important is that for you, to when people are proactive and go out of their way to stop by and say hi to you and see how you're doing, just on a social level? Does that help you feel included? Is that a part of, accommodations, if you will, of people being proactive in that way?
I'm, I'm very happy when people come to me and talk to me about anything. So that's been proactive. But if I see people afraid to talk to me, then I feel like there's something wrong with me. So that's not a good feeling. So it's always good to have people come talk with me. And I'm going to use one example from a place that I used to work at. Like like I said, I'm a very social person. So I tried to say hi to people, but nobody talked to me. So I went to the manager and I asked him, how come people don't talk to me? Could he explain why? And the manager was like, oh, nobody wants to talk to me because you're the boss being stuck. So nobody wants to talk to me. I can't control myself.
Yeah.
So that's not a good feeling.
Yeah. So What message, as we start to wrap up the podcast, we always like to leave messages. What message would you like to share with deaf people starting their careers or looking to transition to more of a traditional office job, and also managers of potential deaf employees? What message could you share that would help get them off to the right foot and working well together for the long term?
Uh, my message for all the people starting out or transitioning to a new job, it will be tough at first. It's not going to be easy. Because most of the time people have never worked with a deaf person before. So learn to be very patient with yourself, be patient with the company, be patient with the manager. They don't know anybody. So be nice to people and be proactive yourself to talk to people, asking for help. Because most of the time people are not going to help you because they don't know anybody. So you have to be active yourself to ask people for help. If they say no, find another way to ask for help. Never take no for an answer. And learn to laugh at yourself. People want to see look make fun of yourself. People
Yeah.
like that.
Ye-
That's how you get along with people. So
Honestly, I think that's advice everyone needs. Learn to laugh at yourself. Oh man, one of my favorite philosophy papers essentially says, being willing to play the fool, being willing to put yourself out there and laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously is one of the best life advices I've ever gotten, and I love you sharing that. Sorry to interrupt. That was just that really hit me.
uh,
Well, I mean, just in the short time that I've known you, I guess maybe a couple of months, not only have I made a new friend, but I learn a lot from you. And it has been such an incredible experience to learn from another peer, um, different perspective. And, you know, that's such a gift for any organization.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what's your dream job? Where are we trying to get you to? Who's who are we gonna shout out to here to come and hire our friend Paul? Because he's kind of awesome.
uh, I know when I start in my career, I've done so many different little things. So because I like to help people, I like to assist people in the good way. Um, and make things better, improve the culture and all that. So I know the purpose that would be kind of in between HRPP
Yeah,
or HRPP and HR and recruiting because I like to work with recruiters because that's where the problem starts for
yeah,
people to apply for work because most people don't know how to accommodate us.
yeah,
So I can help with that for a company, make sure everything is smooth, fine. Then the next step for an employee is HR approach, like
yeah,
onboarding, um, retention, keeping the person stay with the company. And I
mm,
like to help educate people and the manager how to help the disabled person in the company. Then when problems happen, that HRPP will
yeah,
and helping the manager and the employee. But for
yeah,
manager, most of the time, the manager write it up for BS reason. That's why, like, one company, one time, I was on the blue talking to somebody, and I was
mm,
talking too loud because I can't hear myself. I got
Mm-hmm.
written up for talking too loud.
yeah,
The HR and the manager let that happen. people that will never happen.
Yeah.
That's why, in my opinion, there to be more disabled people working for HR people section of HR to help prevent that from happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
if you keep letting that happen, then it becomes lawsuit. We can help prevent that from happening.
Mm.
So the last part is culture, people culture. And like I, like I said, I worked with the ERD program for over 15 years. So I understand how to make company culture better. So
Yeah.
if there's visiting like that, I'm open. Or I can do anything.
Well, what I'm going to say is that for any companies out there that are looking for someone who is incredibly resilient, agile, well experienced across the entire HR role and responsibilities, from talent acquisition to onboarding to ERGs and accessibility, inclusion, that's a
Training and
great,
development.
yeah,
Yeah.
L&D, learning and development. That is an incredible all-rounder. And finding someone who has that, all of that in a package, is a gift. And so we'll have your LinkedIn details in our show notes. And anyone who's looking for the next best thing in human resources, Paul is your man. You've been incredible hire.
Yes. Give him a video call.
Yes.
Yeah, because Paul, you were saying that one of the great ways that teams can help you, they can be proactive and help you feel included, and that you guys all belong together, is for teams learning signs. I only know scuba diving sign language, which is I'm not dying. I need to surface. We need to go down to the bottom. I'm pretty sure that doesn't translate well into to American Sign Language. So could you please teach us and our listeners and viewers now, since this is going to be a video, teach us some signs that would just be easy and help the deaf community feel included.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
I need to see that again. And
Nice,
sit back.
nice.
nice to meet you.
Oh, I like that. It's like they're face to face. That's so amazing.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you. How me, how me, how me. How
See, this is one thing I need to adjust my camera because I was like very shoulders up and my microphone's in the way. So this is it's like a scoop to your. Oh, Marion, you've got it automatically adjusts for the
Yeah, I
Apple.
know.
Oh,
So
you
I
need
have
to
to
have a
keep moving
talk with
back.
them too.
I know. I have to keep moving back. I'm going to fall down the stairs in a minute.
And what is this? How are you?
how is
It means hire me. Hire me for
Oh,
work.
Hire
hire
me,
me.
me,
Hire
hire
me.
me. I have a hard time doing that because I can't scoop my wrist.
Yeah, it's hard. You do it with the other
Hire
hand.
me. Oh yeah, is it like okay to do things left-handed?
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Good.
How
Okay.
nice to meet
Mm.
That was nice to talk to you.
you. Like to talk to you.
That was a long one.
Nice.
Nice. To
No.
talk.
Talk
To
to you.
talk to you.
Oh.
Well, nice. Starting. Like that
Nice.
with you.
With you.
Mm.
I like that. I can do this one easy.
I know, me too.
Oh, what just happened to my screen? Oh, I set off fireworks. You know, Zoom, we also should have a talk with Zoom about the fact that American Sign Language can sometimes set off fireworks inside of a Zoom call. That was unexpected. Thank you for showing us those, Paul. Those were really good. I love that when you're talking that you're signing, or I don't know if they're actual signs, but they're adjacent enough to where it really helps communicate. And I hope that people do take the time to watch this on video so that they can get the context of what that's like, and how great of a communicator you really are. It's really incredible.
I hope to have how to later on with both of you.
Yeah, when you tell us all about the cool new job you have and how you're adjusting to it, right?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul. This was wonderful. Thank you all for listening and watching. We'll see you all in the next Elephant in the Org.